Okay, you guys. So I need everybody to stop whatever you are doing right now, because what happened this week in Queens is honestly one of the most unbelievable things I have ever covered on this channel, and y'all know I do not say that lightly. They swore, on everything, that this man would never stand on that corner again. They said if his sneakers ever touched that pavement, there would not even be a funeral, because there would be nothing left to bury. Those are not my words, y'all. Those were the words floating out of that neighborhood for months. And yet this week, in broad daylight, Curtis Jackson, the man the whole world knows as 50 Cent, walked straight back into Southside Jamaica, Queens, smiling, laughing, and handing out $100 bills on the exact same streets that were supposed to have a price on his head. And nothing happened. Nothing. And baby, that silence right there? That silence is the loudest part of this entire story, and by the end of this video you are going to understand exactly why. Now let me be very clear with you before we go any further, because what I am about to walk you through is not a rumor, it is not a fan theory, it is not a Reddit thread. Every piece of this is on camera, on record, or in court documents. 50 Cent really did return to his old hood alongside Tony Yayo. They really were seen handing out money and ordering food for the community. The threats against them really were made publicly. And the man whose family name hangs over all of this really is sitting in federal custody right now, allegedly begging for a chance to come home early, and being told no. Stay with me, because by the end of this, you are going to understand why what 50 Cent just did was not charity. It was a coronation. And before anybody tries to spin this, let me kill the lazy take right now. No, this was not a music video shoot. No, this was not some staged publicity stunt with barricades and a permit. This was a man, his day one brother, and a neighborhood that watched him grow up. Keep that framing in your mind as we go, because the difference between a stunt and a statement is everything in this story. So let me set the table for everybody who is new here, and even if you have been following this story for 20 years, I need you locked in, because some of what I am about to say is going to reframe things you thought you already understood. For months, and I mean months, there has been chatter coming out of Queens, out of certain podcasts, out of certain social media accounts tied to people who do not play about their territory, that if 50 Cent or Tony Yayo were ever caught slipping in Southside, it would be a wrap. The exact language floating around was that they would end up on a t-shirt. And if you know what that means. Memorial shirts. Rest in peace airbrushed on cotton. That was the promise being made publicly, repeatedly, and confidently. The word was that Queens belonged to somebody else now, that 50 Cent was banned, exiled, persona non grata in the very streets that made him, and that the day he tested that theory would be his last day. My jaw was on the floor watching this footage. This man did not just test the theory. He pulled up with his most loyal soldier, stood in the open, fed the block, tipped the workers, took pictures, and left the same way he came. Untouched. Unbothered. Unhurried. And the entire internet, the same internet that had been predicting a tragedy, had to sit there and watch a victory lap instead. Now, I need to explain something about how messages travel in that world, because a lot of y'all heard that these men got word about the threats and you might not understand what that means. In that life, communication does not happen through phone calls. It travels through what they call a kite, a message passed through walls, through visits, through lawyers, through people coming home carrying word with them. And according to everything circulating, the message that reached the G-Unit camp was not vague. It was designed to do one thing, rewrite a man's map of the world. Turn his childhood into a place he needs permission to visit. That is the psychological game here. The thread is never about the corner. The corner is just concrete. The thread is about ownership of memory. But wait, because to truly understand the weight of what just happened, you have to understand who was supposed to be enforcing that ban, and why they cannot enforce anything from where they are sitting right now. And this is where the story goes from interesting to absolutely unbelievable, so do not touch that dial. Let me take you back for a second. The name at the center of all of this tension is Kenneth McGriff, known to the streets, to the feds, and to hip-hop history as Supreme. If you do not know who Supreme is, let me paint the picture quickly, because his shadow stretches across this entire story, even from behind bars. Supreme ran the Supreme Team, one of the most notorious drug organizations to ever operate out of Southeast Queens, and his influence in the 80s and 90s was the stuff of legend. Money, power, respect, fear. He had all four in quantities most men could not imagine. And his connection to the music business, to Murder Incorporated, to the whole early 2000s rap landscape, has been documented in court cases, in documentaries, in books, and in endless interviews. Now, the feud between 50 Cent and that whole orbit is one of the oldest, most dangerous rivalries in hip-hop history. Many people believe it is connected to the shooting that nearly killed 50 Cent in front of his grandmother's house. We are talking diss records, federal investigations, restraining orders, a rap beef that was never really a rap beef at all, because on one side of it, the music was never the point. The music was just the public layer of something much older and much colder. And here is the part that has the streets whispering right now, the part everybody is dancing around that I am going to say plainly. Word has been circulating, and I want to be careful and accurate here, these are allegations and street reports, not convictions, that after a relative of Supreme was recently released from custody, a young man known on these streets as Prince, the temperature around 50 Cent spiked all over again. The rumor was that there was talk, allegedly, of green lights, of open seasons, of people waiting for the right moment. I am not going to repeat the specifics of that graphic talk here. It does not deserve the oxygen. But I will say this. The people making those claims were not random trolls. They were people with documented ties, people whose words carry weight in that world. And that is what made this week's footage so stunning to everybody paying attention. And let me talk about Prince for a second, because his situation tells you everything about how the story actually ends for the people who choose that life. This is a young man who went into the institution with a reputation, a name, a legacy handed down to him whether he asked for it or not. And from everything that has surfaced publicly, the years did what the years do. The pictures circulating now show a man aged far beyond his time. That is what that life does. It does not just take your freedom. It takes your youth, your health, your future, and it hands you back a photograph where you do not recognize your own face. So when people online were allegedly whispering that Prince was waiting for his moment, ask yourself a serious question. Does a man who already paid that price really want to go back? I do not believe it. The smart ones learn what the system is. The system is a machine that eats years and gives back nothing. You do the time. You never, ever let the time do you again. Now think about the chess move here. Think about what 50 Cent actually just did. He did not sneak in at 3 in the morning. He did not come with a convoy. He did not come making threats or posting subliminals. He came in the daytime with Tony Yayo, his day one, his brother, the man who went to jail and came home and never once folded on that friendship. He came with money in his hand and a smile on his face, and he stood on the very concrete they said he could never stand on again. That is not recklessness. That is a message. And the message was received loud and clear by everyone it was meant for, whether they ever admit it or not. And one more thing about that footage, because I caught this detail and I have not seen a single blog mention it. Watch how the people on that block react. There is no tension. There is no nervous energy. There are elders coming up to dap him up. There are young people with their phones out. There are workers from that restaurant smiling ear to ear. The neighborhood did not react like a band man returned. The neighborhood reacted like a son came home. And you cannot fake that. You can stage a lot of things in this business, but you cannot stage the way a block receives somebody. That reception was 26 years in the making. Now here is where the story takes a turn almost nobody saw coming, and honestly, this is the part that had me reading court reports twice, because I could not believe what I was looking at. Remember Supreme? The legend, the untouchable, the man whose name was once spoken in whispers? Word from behind the walls right now is that the energy has completely changed. According to people who follow this case closely, the same man who once defied the government at every turn is now allegedly doing something his old self would have found unthinkable. He is asking for mercy. Let me say that again so it lands. The man who built a reputation on never bowing, never folding, never acknowledging any court or any system, is reportedly petitioning for leniency, for a reduced sentence, for another chance to come home. And the answer he is getting back, from everything being reported, is a cold, flat, immovable no. No early release. No reconsideration. No shortcut, no cheat code, no exceptions. The time is the time, and he is going to sit there and do all of it. Here is the reality the streets do not put on the t-shirts. Time is undefeated. When you go into federal custody as a young lion, you tell yourself you are going to hold it down, stay solid, come home to your empire. But empires do not wait. The corners get new faces. The money finds new hands. The soldiers become grandfathers or memories. And one day you wake up in a cell and realize the world you were king of does not exist anymore. It exists in documentaries. It exists in other people's storytelling. It exists, and this is the part that has to burn, in the television empire of the very man you were supposed to have erased. So of course the request gets made. Hope is the last thing a man loses in there. But hope is not a legal argument, and the federal government does not do nostalgia. The answer was no. And from everything being reported, the answer will keep being no. Do you see the picture forming? On one side of this story, you have a man who was shot 9 times and left for dead, who turned survival into an empire, who just walked back into the neighborhood that was supposed to be off limits, smiling and handing out money like a king returning to his kingdom. On the other side, you have the empire that was supposed to have erased him, now aging behind federal walls, reportedly pleading with the very system it mocked, and being told to sit down and finish every single day of that sentence. The power has not just shifted. It has flipped completely upside down, and everybody in Queens knows it. And let me talk about Tony Yayo for a minute, because his presence in this footage is not a footnote. It is a headline all by itself. Tony Yayo is the one who went to jail during the height of G-Unit's run, who came home and picked up right where he left off, who has been 10 toes down for 50 Cent through every beef, every lawsuit, every shooting, every betrayal. When you see Tony Yayo standing next to 50 Cent on that strip, you are not just seeing a hype man. You are seeing a statement about loyalty that goes back over 2 decades. Loyalty in hip-hop is cheap until it gets tested in a real environment. Anybody can wear the chain at an award show. Standing on that corner, with that history hanging in the air, that is where loyalty gets its receipt. Whatever anybody says about Tony Yayo from this day forward, they can never say he ducked. When the walk got made, he made it. That is etched now. That is history. Now, I know some people are going to look at this and say it was reckless. I have already seen the comments. People saying 50 Cent is playing with his life, that he has children and businesses and a whole television network to think about. And listen, I hear that. I genuinely do. But here is the counter-argument, and honestly it is the one I keep coming back to. This is a man who got shot 9 times, survived, and made the whole world pay attention to the story of his survival. Risk is not a bug in 50 Cent's operating system. Risk is the operating system. Every chapter of his career was built on doing the exact thing fear was supposed to prevent. The moment he lets a threat dictate where he can stand, the brand collapses. He knows that. And more importantly, the people making the threats know that he knows that. And let me also say this, because it needs to be said. What got lost in all the drama talk was the actual substance of what happened on that block. A local business stayed open late to serve concert goers. A neighborhood that has seen decades of disinvestment got a visit from its most famous son, who did not just wave from a window but pulled out money and put it directly into people's hands. Kids on that block got to see somebody from their exact circumstances who made it all the way out and then came all the way back, not in fear, but in triumph. That matters more than the gossip, more than the beef, more than any threat. Whatever you think of 50 Cent, the visual of a black man from Southside Jamaica standing free and generous on his own streets when the world said he could not is a powerful image. Full stop. But now let me get into the part that has everybody talking behind the scenes, the part the comment sections are on fire about. Why now? Why, after all these years, after all the warnings, after all the noise about no-fly zones, did 50 Cent choose this exact moment to make that walk? Here is my read, and I want you to tell me in the comments if you think I am reading this right or if I am reaching. Number 1, the timing relative to Supreme's situation is impossible to ignore. With reports that he is not getting out early, that the old power structure of that neighborhood is legally and physically locked in place for the foreseeable future, the street calculus changes dramatically. The threat was always most credible when the infrastructure behind it was intact and active. Right now, that infrastructure is hollowed out. The king is in a cell. The alleged enforcers are either locked up, under surveillance, or wise enough to know that one wrong move on a target this famous means dying in federal custody. 50 Cent is many things, but stupid has never been one of them. If he made that walk, it is because he knew with certainty the walk was safe. And how he knew that is the question that should keep everybody up at night. Number 2, and this is the piece almost nobody is talking about. This move rewrites the entire narrative of the feud for the next generation. For 20 years, the story has been told one way by one side. 50 Cent the outsider. 50 Cent the man who could never come home. It was the one permanent stain his enemies could always point to. He could have all the money in the world, and they could always say, but you cannot go back to your own hood. Well, what do they say now? He went. He stood there. He fed people. He left. Every clip of that visit is now permanent, undeniable proof that the exile narrative is dead. He did not just visit a neighborhood. He repossessed the story. And in hip-hop, the story is everything. Number 3, and I need you to sit with this one. This was also a message to the new generation of voices who built platforms talking tough about him online. The podcasters, the street commentators, the self-appointed spokespeople promising what would happen to 50 Cent if he ever came back. He answered all of them at once, without saying their names, without giving them the clout of a direct response. He just showed up. And now every one of them has to explain why nothing happened. Every one of them has to either escalate or quietly walk their talk back. And escalating against a man who just proved he can stand on that block in daylight is a very, very bad idea, and everybody in that world knows exactly why. Now let me address the other side, because I want to be fair and I want to be thorough. There are people, some of them in my own comment section right now, saying this whole thing was staged, calculated, that he came with security you could not see and there was no real risk at all. And you know what? That might be partly true. Of course there was security. Of course there was planning. A man does not survive what he survived by being careless. But here is what that argument misses. Every king who ever returned to contested territory had security. The security does not diminish the statement. The security is part of the statement. The statement is not I am invincible. The statement is I have the resources, the reach, and the confidence to stand here, and there is not a single thing anyone can do about it. That is not recklessness. That is power, exercised quietly and completely. And let me put this in historical context, because the young ones watching might not realize how rare this actually is. Hip-hop is full of legends who could never go back. Artists who got big and lost their home base forever. Going back, truly going back, standing still, being received, walking away whole, that is one of the rarest feats in this culture. And yet this week, it happened quietly, almost casually, like a man stopping by the store. That casualness is the loudest part of the whole thing. When something that was supposed to be impossible starts looking easy, that tells you the balance of power did not just shift. It shifted a long time ago, and this week was simply the first time everybody got to see it on camera. And one more layer on the business side, because we cannot forget who we are dealing with. This is the same mind that turned a get rich or die trying story into a film, a soundtrack, a clothing line, a beverage deal, and a slate of hit shows that has dominated cable for a decade. Nothing 50 Cent does in front of a camera is accidental. Every frame is a chess move. So when he lets himself be filmed handing money to a restaurant on his old block, understand that he is not just feeding people. He is feeding a narrative, one where he is the provider, the protector, the son who made good, and the other side is a cautionary tale behind glass. He is writing the final chapter of this feud himself, and he is writing it in cash and smiles instead of anything the blogs can twist into a headline about violence. Genius. Cold, calculated, 20 years in the making genius. So now let me tell you where I think this goes next, because this story is absolutely not over. First, watch the footage itself. 50 Cent is a television producer now, one of the most successful in the game. He has built an entire universe of content around the mythology of Queens, around the Supreme Era, around the very streets he just walked. Do you think that footage does not end up in a documentary? I would bet money that what we saw this week was not just a visit. It was a scene. He is producing his own legacy in real time, and he just shot the most powerful frame of the entire series on the block where it all started. Second, watch the response from the other side. Or more precisely, watch for the absence of a response. Because here is the dirty little secret of situations like this. When threats get made publicly, then get tested publicly, and nothing happens, the silence afterward is deafening. The people who talk the loudest now have a choice. Keep talking and look toothless, or go quiet and confirm the moment has passed. Either way, the power dynamic is set in stone. 50 Cent did not just win the week. He may have ended a 25-year conversation. And third, watch what happens in the neighborhood itself. Because beyond the beef, beyond the gossip, something genuinely significant happened for Southside Jamaica this week. The narrative about that neighborhood has been written by outsiders for decades. Violence, drugs, danger, decline. But this week, the most famous person that neighborhood ever produced came back, stood tall, and poured into it. And he did it all on the very ground the world was told he could never touch again. Whatever you think of the man, that is the definition of reclaiming your story. Now, I have been doing this a long time, and I have covered a lot of moments in this culture. I have seen rappers posture. I have seen beefs that were all theater and beefs that were tragically real. And I am telling you, from everything I know, what happened this week in Queens is going to be remembered as one of the most quietly gangster moments in hip-hop history. Not because anyone got hurt, thank God. But because a man walked into the one place on earth where he was supposedly dead if he showed his face, and he showed his face, and the sun kept shining, and the block kept moving, and the only thing that died that day was the myth that anyone else owned those streets. But I want to hear from y'all, because this one is layered and I know the comments are about to be a war zone. Do you think 50 Cent was brave or reckless for making that walk back to Southside? Do you think the threats were ever real, or was it always just talk? And what do you make of the reports about Supreme allegedly asking for leniency and being told no? Does the power in Queens officially belong to Curtis Jackson now, or is this story still being written? And for the historians in the comments, where does this moment rank among the great returns in hip-hop history? Debate it out below, respectfully, and I will be down there with you. And real quick, shout out to the workers at that restaurant, because they are the unsung heroes of this whole moment. They stayed open late to feed people coming out of that show. They served their community the way small businesses in our neighborhoods always do, quietly, without applause. And then the most famous son of that community walked through the door and made sure their loyalty was rewarded in front of the whole world. That is the circle. The block pours into you, you make it out, and then you come back and pour into the block. Now, if you are new here, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because I am telling you right now, this Queen story has more chapters coming, and when the next development drops, and it will drop, you are going to want to be here the moment I break it down. We are also getting into the full untold history of the Supreme Team era and how it connects to everything happening in hip-hop today, and trust me, you have never heard it told the way I am about to tell it. Like this video if you think 50 Cent made the power move of the year, and share it with somebody who needs to understand what real chess looks like. One last thing, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart. Whatever neighborhood you are from, whatever block raised you, whatever odds were stacked against you when you started, remember this image. A man they said could never come home, standing in the sun on his own corner, feeding his own people, fearing nothing. That could be your story. Survival first. Strategy always. And never, ever let anybody else write the ending of your story for you. Not the haters, not the internet, not the history books. You write it. You walk it. You own it. They said the corner was closed. They said the door was locked. They said the king could never come home. He came home anyway. He came home smiling, and he came home with his hands full of blessings for the same people who watched him crawl before he ever walked. Queens, stand up. Southside, stand tall. The whole world just watched history get rewritten on a sidewalk, and the pen was a stack of $100 bills. Now get in those comments and tell me where you were when you first heard that 50 Cent touched down back home, because the next chapter of this story is already being written, and I will have it for you first. That is the real tea tonight, and it is piping hot. I am gone.